Hello YouTube, this is Brian Tubbs coming at you with another video. Today I'm working on a piece. It's a pedestal. In our booth we have different height pedestals. We have 36-inch on down to 12-inch tall pedestals. We put all of our art pieces on these pedestals, and I'll show you guys a picture of how we have our booths set up, and you'll see there's a kind of pedestals kind of going around the perimeter of the booth, and our art pieces are on top. Well, we had a couple that came in yesterday, and they have bought, yesterday made the third piece that they have bought from us. They made, they have purchased in the past our tall triangle, the one that we call prism, and then about a year later they purchased a piece that we have been trying to figure out a name for this piece, but we just call it fish head. It looks like a fish head from the side view, but it's a really nice piece, a stainless steel piece. It just kind of looks like a fish head. And then this year, just a few days ago, they came in and bought our piece Tipping Point. It's another stainless steel piece, and it has a ring on the top, and it's like it's balancing. The bottom has kind of our signature bottom where it just rests on the point of the base, and then on top there's a piece that rests on top, and then there's a ring that rests, and it looks like the whole thing is kind of tipping. And so I'll show you guys a picture of that. And they bought that yesterday, and then they wanted a pedestal. So they had a piece, another art piece in their house in this corner. I mean, they are really serious art collectors. I mean, they have some nice expensive stuff in their house. And I guess we must be decent artists because they bought three pieces from us. So they're going to put, so the piece that's there now, a really nice piece, it's in a corner of their dining area. They have another friend of mine's piece of art across the room from ours. Then they have a piece that they bought from us not long ago in another corner. And now they have this stainless steel piece, really nice piece in the corner, in the one particular corner. But they don't like that piece in the corner, or they don't like the piece. I'm not sure which one it is. But they want to put our piece that they just bought, Tipping Point, in that corner. So when they walk in that room, they'll see Tipping Point. So their dilemma was having something to put Tipping Point on, because when they walked into our booth, Tipping Point was sitting on this tall pedestal, 36-inch pedestal, which made Tipping Point stand probably about this tall off the top of the pedestal. And they needed the pedestal to come above their dining room table so you can see the top of the pedestal and then see the art piece coming off of that pedestal. So all of our pedestals are painted black, and we try and keep them in nice condition. And so they said they needed a pedestal, but they wanted one fairly quickly. So I told them that we could make one for them, brand new, would have powder coated and all that stuff, black, and then they could, put Tipping Point on top of that. But they said, well, would you guys be willing to sell us the one that's in the corner, that pedestal, and you make another one for your next show? And I said, yeah, we can do that. But the pedestal that's in the corner is our traveling pedestal. So it has, a few scratches here and there, a few small little dings in it, not much, because we really pad everything when we put them away into the trailer. We don't just throw them in there. And so they said, what we'll do is we'll take that pedestal home, the one you have in the corner, put it in a position, put the Tipping Point on top and see if it's tall enough. And if it's tall enough, we'll just keep that one, then you make another one. But if it's not tall enough, if you'd be so kind, could you make us one the height we need, and then we'll meet you at the show next week, which is in Detroit, and we can just exchange pedestal. You can just give us the new pedestal, and we'll give you this one back so you can put it into your booth and with your setup. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so they said we would pay the same price, whether it's for the used pedestal or the new one. It doesn't matter, either one. So we said, okay, that's fine. So what we did was we wrapped tipping point. We'd wrap it in foam and plastic and everything else when we sell it. And they said they would walk around and buy small art. They're very wealthy people, and so they left and went shopping around. And my wife said, well, why don't we just give them a few dollars off the used pedestal, but if we have to make them a new one, then we'll just charge them the price that we quoted them. And so I said, oh, okay, that's fine with me, because I don't sell used stuff. So if they take it home and they say they'll rather a new one, that'll be fine. We'll just give them a discount on this pedestal, and we'll just charge them the full price on the new one, because we would make the pedestal and then we'll send it out to a powder coater and have the powder coated black. And with our traveling ones, the one that we use, we'll either powder coat some of them, or we'll spray paint, or we'll use a roll paint on them. Either one, because they don't have to be perfect. And so what I did was took the pedestal out of the booth, because you really can't see the pedestals that well in the booth, because it's all white, but there's shade in there. You can't see everything. So what I did was I told my wife, let's move this pedestal out into the sun so they can see everything on the pedestal. I don't want to hide anything. And so as they were walking around shopping more, we wrapped the tipping point up, and then we set tipping point on top of the piece outside. And then we rearranged the inside of the booth, moved some pieces around and whatnot. And so about an hour and a half later, they came back with another sculpture's piece of art for it. It's a wall hanging piece. And they said they're going to drive the car around and we can just load everything up. So they drove the car around. We loaded tipping point, the other artist's piece in the back, and then we had this pedestal in a plastic bag, and then they had a piece like this in the back of their Jeep already laid out. So I took the pedestal and slid it in there and wrapped it so it wouldn't bang on the other two art pieces. And so about an hour later, they text my wife and said the pedestal fits perfectly. They're going to keep that pedestal that we sold them. They don't care if it's used. It looks really, really, really nice. So they're going to keep that pedestal and put tipping point on that. So that brings me to this video. We had a really nice show. Sold tipping point and a couple other pieces. We're just waiting for one lady to get another sculpture moved so we can put one of our sculptures in that position. And then another guy owns a building that was right next to the art show. He owns a building, his friend owns the building right next to his. So they want to buy a sculpture for his and a sculpture for his friend's building, go in front of the building. And I've talked to you guys in a few videos ago about a piece that we made for Tesla. We made the Guardian, and then we made another piece that we haven't even named yet. It's still here in storage, waiting for them to finish the Tesla location. But the Tesla location is less than 100 yards from the guy that wants the two sculptures. So we're going to have our name on 3 sculptures right within 50 yards of each other. So that's just advertising. And so we had a pretty good show. And so this pedestal is going to replace the one that we sold yesterday. We normally don't sell our traveling pedestals, but they wanted it so bad, and they purchase from us so often. And every time we go to an art show, they're there. They just travel around to art shows, just seeing what they can buy, because they love supporting artists. They're very wealthy people, like I said earlier. And so what I'm going to do today is just kind of show you guys how we make a pedestal. I mentioned it in a video not long ago when I was making the base for Heart of Man. It was a stainless steel base I had sitting on a table here, and I was talking about that and just kind of describing how we make pedestals. But in this video, I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit more insight into how we do it. It can be a little bit noisy at times because I'll be using the cutoff wheel and the grinder just to show you guys kind of how we do it. So without further ado, as they say, the pedestal that we sold was 11 by 11 square, and the height was 36 inches. So what I did this morning, after I made a couple runs, I had to run to Lansing area to check on my brother-in-law's property. Then I went to an outlet, metal outlet up there. They had what I wanted, but their price was too high. So I came back to my home Elro store, and they gave me a big discount on the metal. So I bought a 48 by 36 inch sheet of just hot rolled 16 gauge flat sheet. 16 gauge is important. You can get away with 14 gauge, but if you want to make a pedestal, you want to be around 14 to 16. But for me, since we carry these things around all the time, I go with 16 gauge. And I use 16 gauge because one, it's light, and the other thing, it won't cut you when you pick it up. And the other thing is when you put your grooves in it, it's easier to bend than 14 gauge. And don't even think about using 12 or 11 gauge or 10 gauge. I mean, you can, but you won't be able to bend it like this. You'll have to cut. You have to cut each individual piece, then you got to weld all that stuff back up. So to make building pedestals easy, I took the 48 by 36 inch sheet, of course laid it flat, went from the far edge, okay, this is 36 this way, this is 36 this way, 48 that way. So on the 36 inch, being this way, I laid everything out flat, took my straight edge, and I got a little bit ahead of the video here because I just want to just not have you guys sitting there waiting all day for me to run my grinder back and forth, because I need to know about how many times I need to swipe back and forth to get the depth I need, but it's still a guessing game. So what I did was I just went ahead and bent this edge up just to speed things up and make it a bit faster. But what I did was I measured from this edge. Okay guys, I think I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, that's better. You won't be able to see me, but you can see what I'm talking about. So I measured from this point, which was laying flat, to this first line, which is, I marked it exactly 11 inches. From that point to that first groove, 11 inches. And I measured from that groove 22, and I went 33, 44. So from here to here was 11, Then another 11 is 22. Add another 11, 33. Add another 11, 44. And I made a line here. I didn't make a groove, but I just drew a line there. And then what I did was got my plasma cutter and cut that extra 4 inches off of this edge. Made a straight cut. So now from this point to here is 11 inches. And going this way, it's 36. So what I did was I took my cutoff wheel, which looks like this. It's just a sharp cutoff wheel. Put it on my angle grinder, and I went back and forth with this on here. Went up, back, 4 times. And I had this straight edge clamped right on my marks. So the straight edge was here, and I had it clamped here, and I had it clamped there, so I can make sure this straight edge stayed on that line. Then I just took the grinder and just went back and forth 4 times, gently, really gently. I wasn't pushing at all, because I do not want to cut through this metal. I just want to cut a little line into that metal. I'm going to bring you guys in a little bit closer just so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so this groove was all the way from the top of that side to the bottom. And I took this cutoff wheel, the narrow one, and I had it on this. I had it on this grinder, had this narrow one on the grinder. And I just went back really gently 4 times. That way, back, 4 times. Because I just wanted to get that channel set in there. Then I took this next grinding bit. It's not as thick as the other ones that I use. It's a little bit thinner. It's just a little bit thinner or thicker than this one. And what I did with this one, is put it on that groove and gently went back and forth probably about 2 times. Because what I wanted to do was open this groove up a little bit wider this way. Because if I just leave it here with the smaller, narrower cutoff wheel, the groove is there, but when you're trying to fold your metal, it won't fold it to a 90 degree angle. It'll stay, as opposed to folding like this, like it should be on 90, it will be probably more like this, kind of like that. It won't close completely because you get that material in there, and that material stops it from coming to a 90. You must have a 90 degree angle unless you're trying to put some other angle on the material. And so I'll use this other wider grinding disc just to open that groove up a little bit more, and then it'll give me room to fold this material, and the material won't get in the way of itself, which will keep it from going to a 90. So I just want you guys to see I have a groove here and right in there. I have another one at 11 from that one, then 11 from that one, then this edge is 11. So when I get all these bent, it'll come back and this edge will meet with this edge, and then you have your 11 inch by 11 inch square. And then when you get done with that, you'll put your top on just to keep everything from tweaking. But so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna show you guys how I run this grinder in that groove. Everything is done gently. If you push down hard, you're gonna go right through this because it's only 16 gauge. And what you don't want to do is cut through it. I mean, if you cut through it, we know how to weld, so we'll just weld it back together. But if you can save the time from having to weld, you just cut through. I mean, you don't cut through. You just kind of skim over the surface, taking away material so that when you bend it, it'll fold easier. Let me go ahead and move this camera to a better position. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is just take this grinder with the thicker, this wheel is probably about an 1/8 inch thick this way, right around 1/8 of an inch. Whereas this one is probably about a 1/16 of an inch. This narrow one is about 1/60 of an inch. And this is what I use to cut through thinner metal when I don't want to use a plasma cutter. Or for some reason I can't use a plasma cutter for whatever reason, I'll use these cutoff wheels. So what I do, I've already put the straight edge on here, and I've already made my grooves with that cutoff wheel. So that's what you have to do. Put a straight edge. What I do is I make a mark here at if it was 11, right there. Do one in the middle, then I want to do one at the top. So I get my straight edge on there. I'm going from this point, center point, top point, and that way I know it's fairly straight. It's not going off to an angle to the left or to the right, but it's fairly straight. So since I have already used the cutoff wheel to get the grooves, I'm just going to use this grinding wheel to just gently go over this to open it up just a little bit more, just so you guys can see. All right, here we go. And that might be enough, but what we'll do is we'll take a straight edge. I'm using this is just a diamond plate, 1/4 inch diamond plate that I used. This piece was cut off and left from another base that I was making. I made a base, and this was just the perimeter of that base that I made from another piece. So what I'll do is take this and lay it right on the groove. I don't want it in the middle of the groove. I want it just to the side of the groove, so that this is not interfering with the groove. And the next step, let me turn it this way. It's going to be right on the groove line, just on the outer edge of this groove line, not in the center, because I'll interfere with this bending. So I'll do now is just take it and clamp it down. The groove is right on this side, right against this straight edge, right there. Do it on the other side. The same thing, right on that edge. In the video, it seems like it takes a long time to do this, but if I wasn't shooting a video, I could have this done in just a matter of minutes. It wouldn't take long at all. All right, let me see if I can bend this thing. And if you try and bend it and it won't bend, just take your grinding wheel and just gently go through the groove a little bit more to dig out some more material to make it easier to bend. Let me see if I can bend it. So a little bit stiff. It's a little bit stiff, so I'm going to take my grinder and just go in that groove just a little bit more. Don't want to go too deep because you don't want to take up too much material. Just want to take your time. You're starting to bend. I think we'll take out just a little bit more. You should not have to fight with it. When you first start doing it, just take your time. And what you should do also is if you have air, take your air and blow that groove out. There's a lot of metal that collected from that grinder in that groove, and I can stop it or prevent it from going to the 90 because it's fighting against all that metal that's in that channel. All right, let me try it again. Getting there. And normally when I do this, I have it clamped to my welding table, which gives it a little more leverage, but I'm not going to be concerned with that because you guys might not have, you know, a sturdy table or whatever. If these tables are not sturdy, I'm going to be ordering a new table here soon, a really heavy one with, you know, with the 5/8 holes in it, just something really nice. All right, let me see if I can bend this a little bit better. Turn my back to you guys just for a second. Yeah. And that's kind of what it looks like. Then I'll just move the straight edge out of the way. That's just stopping it from bending. I don't want to go, I don't need to bend it too far. Just close to a 90. So that's the next bend. So that's one bend, two bends. Now I just got to work on this groove. Then I'll take this one and roll it up. They'll meet. Then I'll just tack it along that edge. And then once I get it tacked, I'll stand it up and get clamps. What I need to do is just to make sure it's fairly square. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just because of what it is, it doesn't have to be exactly square. So there we go. Then you just do the same thing. You just put your straight edge there. As close as you can. And it's best if you can have just straight edge clamped to a table. And that way this will be holding down, and you can just work with this edge. You don't have to be working with the whole piece. Because that, once it's clamped to the table, you can just take this and use leverage and move it up. So I'll just give it a shot, see if it'll move. So I'll have to go through it a little bit more. Alright, we'll try it one more time. Let me blow this out in here. And guys, always wear a face shield when you're doing this. And guys, just trial and error with this. Alright, it's starting to bend now, so I'll take it out, turn it up on this edge so I can get a little bit more force on it. Let's put my weight on it. Maybe it's tight. I'm going to move this clamp out of the way. And for those of you who do not know what diamond plate is, it looks like this. It just has these raised edges on it. The back side is just flat like any other piece of steel, but this side is just raised. They call it diamond edge. I was at this supply house, metal supply house last week, and they were showing me this load they had just got in. It was aluminum diamond plate, and it goes on fire trucks, the decks and the walls, just make it look interesting. And the diamond plate had little serrations, if you will, between each plate. There were little cuts in it. And this, so when the firemen get onto the truck with their boots, whether their boots are wet or not, it doesn't matter, because when they step in a diamond plate, it's going to grip the bottom of their boot, which keeps them, from falling and having accidents and whatnot. Let me bend this thing. But that's what diamond plate is. So when you guys hear me use these terms, that's what it is. If I can get this to go, I'll be in good shape. There we go. But it can be like this sometimes. It's not always easy to do, but I just don't want to cut through it. So now I'll go ahead and bend it a little bit more. So I'll do is open this up, push it inside so we can bend past this, so I can get that that 90-degree angle that I'm looking for. Because if it's just hitting this, it's not going to get the angle I'm looking for. So I'm just pushing in, down past that. There we go. Alright, there we go. And again, if I wasn't filming, it would go together a whole lot easier. But that's alright, I want you guys to just see how it's done.
So now it's just a matter of putting this edge together and just tacking it all the way down. And then I'll take it, stand it up on edge, put the top on, tack the edge on. So I'll go ahead and fire the welder up, just to let you guys see what I'm talking about. And the thing with me doing this, thin metal, I don't do 16 gauge often. I use 16 gauge core 10, but I'm welding it to 11 gauge, 10 gauge. So I'm putting most of the heat on the 10 or 11 gauge. But with this, I'm going 16 to 16. So I had to adjust my welder down because usually I'm hot. I got it set to a 1/4 inch or 5/16, and that would just burn right through this. So I have to really think what I'm, as to what I'm doing when I'm doing something like this. So I got to change the settings on the welder. So I'm just kind of clamp this up a little bit. Man doesn't want to clamp. I'll just hold it with my hand. Get my welding helmet on. And I usually don't wear a welding helmet when I'm tacking up something. But with this being so thin, I want to just see how the weld bead is laying on there, and be sure I'm kind of staying in a straight line. All right, just tacking a few places. All right, it's going to be a little bright. So what I was doing is looking here, and I'm looking at the edge to make sure these two are lined up fairly well. And the other thing is I want to get these edges, fairly close. I don't want one laying on top of the other. I want to have just a slight little groove, so when we weld in there, we just take the grinders and knock that weld off, and we'll leave a little bit of weld in there, in that recessed area. So here we go. I am not used to this welder sounding so weak. I'm used to it burning in like crazy. Kind of clamp with it together. Now just shoot it up here. Trying to turn so you guys can see a little bit better. I mean, this is just basically how we make pedestals. I'm not sure how other people do it, but it's very similar, I'm sure. I don't know. Well, actually, I'm not sure how many people actually bend the metal like this. I know it's more common to have 4 sides get a weld, because we used to do it like that, 4 sides, and I said, wait a minute, there has to be a better way. So that's when we just started bending the metal, as opposed to cutting off 4 sides and you got to weld. If you cut 4 sides, you got to weld 4 sides, and that's just, it takes forever. And then when you grind it, you might, if you have pinholes, you have 4 sides to try and fix pinholes. It's not efficient. As I've shown you a secret that we do that we don't tell anyone else about, since you guys are so special, I figured I'll give you some insight into how this thing is done. And what you can do with this is when you make your outdoor pieces, make your lower portions, your pedestals, the same way. Just use thicker metal. There's no difference. Just use thicker metal, that's all. The technique is the same. Unless you're putting angles on it or something like that, then that'll be slightly different. But overall, not much difference. When I looked at this morning, earlier, before I started filming, I said, it looked like the guy that cut this on a slightly off angle, because it just wasn't lining up properly. Now that I'm getting down here, I can see that this edge is right about 1/8 of an inch longer than this side. So when he cut it on the shear, he cut it on a slight angle. So I'll just have to fix that with when I put the cap on. I'll let this be the top and let this, most likely, let this be the bottom, because this is lined up pretty good. So when you're doing stuff like this, watch out for that. And what I'll do also is I'll go on the inside and weld in there. I'll go a little bit hotter on the inside, because when you just have this little weld, we're going to grind that off. You're not going to have much weld left after you grind it. And with the moving around in the trailer, that area could pop open. Some weld from the inside as well. You kick this welder up a little bit hotter. So it's welding at 10 gauge now, just to see what it'll be like on the inside. We'll just see. It won't be. I'll take and kind of straighten this out a little bit, because it's slightly tweaked. So it's tweaked slightly that way, so I'm going to try and pull it this way. Just kind of square, trying to get it more square. When I put the cap on, I'll square it up with it, so it lines up with the cap. It's still gonna kind of run back, even if I put these. I just want to get some welds on the inside. But still gonna jump back. And it's gonna stay like that until I get the cap on. Ground clamp on. All right, here we go. And it really is that simple. It'll go back to where it was slightly. It won't go all the way back because it has those welds holding against it. And so now, let's take it, stand it up. This guy. So I have to put the top here. The top might fit up well, and it might not. Just don't know till you get it on there. And again, this is just one of our secrets. So don't tell anybody, guys. Keep it between us. So take this square, just put it on one of the corners and just see if it's anywhere close to being square. Better. That. I'll just take this square, lay it on here. And again, guys, not going to be perfect. You get it close, but it's not going to be perfect. All right, so now take this top, just set it on there. Not too bad. It might fall in the hole, which it does often. Let me grab a magnet. Because it wants to fall into the hole. Grab a magnet so I can hold on to this so it won't fall in. So you just line it up as best you can.
And if it doesn't like it's lining up too well, that's okay. Because you can take your metal and you can kind of suck it in to line up with this. It's just expanding out here a little bit, so I'll just kind of pull it in a little bit, just so I can get some oil on it. It's coming, it's coming. This is how it's done, guys. Trying to get it lined up fairly well. You just go around and just kind of just tack it in. Wherever you can find a good spot to tack, just tack it. And again, this does not have to be anywhere near perfect. It just has to be good. What I'm doing now is just trying to keep it, just tack it enough to keep it from twisting. Alright guys, so now with that you have the basics and more. I mean, this is, get a camera angled in so you guys can see. But I mean, that's how Pedestal is made. You can take, all you have is one seam, just one seam to weld down there, and then just weld around this cap. And after that, take a grinder, grind your welds down, rough it up, and paint it. Alright guys, so that's how it's done. The basics of making pedestals or bases. If you want to take a piece and have it coming off of this, just weld it to it. Or if you want to take it one of your smaller pieces and put on here in the art show, or you make these and sell these to your customers, that's basically how it's done. This is 11 by 11, it could be 12 by 12, it could be 10 by 10, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, 14 by 14, it doesn't matter, whatever they need. You just go, if it's a 20 by 20, which is unusual, but if it is, you go from a line here, go out 20, go out 20, go out 20, go out 20. Put your grooves in, widen the grooves out, put your little channel in, and get a way to bend it. Then they'll close up, attack it,
measure it out, put a cap on, weld it up, and that's how it's done. So that's the basics and the advanced way of making pedestals. There's no difference. It just, if you want a thicker metal, you just use a thicker metal, but doing it like this, I wouldn't go beyond 14 gauge unless you have a brake where you can bend 11 gauge or something like that. And if you have a brake, you don't have to put the grooves in, you just make your marks and just bend it. But if you don't have a brake, this is the best way to do it. Just run your grooves in it. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. Again, this is Brian Tubbs, and that's the basics and the advanced way of making pedestals. And as usual, I hope to see you guys on the next one. You can like, subscribe, and all the other YouTube stuff you guys know how to do. And as I normally say, peace out.